Swaddy Cap, Jed here from Retiring Disgracefully. Well, as you can see, it's another rainy day here in Samui. Seems that like the wet season's finally arrived, which is about 3 months too late. But I think the weather should improve in the next week or so, as in normal times this would be the start of the high season. And the weather would normally be fantastic without any rain for 3 or 4 months at least. But this is what we've got. I don't know if it's global warming, I don't know what's caused it, but we're getting a late wet season. It's not heavy rain or anything like that. It's not your normal monsoon rain, it's your drizzle. It's just this horrible drizzle. And it just stops you from going out and doing the things you want to do. Of course, Samui or any island, they're not built for rain. They're supposed to be beautiful weather and hot sunshine and beaches and tropical lifestyle. But you've got to have rain, I suppose, so we're stuck with it. Because I can't get out and about, because of this weather, I want to talk with you today about Thailand's bid to try and attract more people to the country. Now that it's finally opened its doors last week on November the 1st for vaccinated tourists. I suppose COVID-19 has damaged all of the countries in the world, physically, mentally, financially, definitely. But countries that rely on tourism as their main source of income, they've been hit especially hard. Thailand is one of those countries. In 2019, close to 40 million tourists visited Thailand. The following year, when COVID first appeared, there were only 6 million, and the majority of them arrived in the first few months of 2020, before COVID was thought to be a global catastrophe. According to the Bangkok Post, only 40,000 tourists have arrived in Thailand in the first 6 months of this year. According to Thai Tiger, which is the local online news, they reported that the government officials met yesterday to discuss new long-term view to visa options for foreigners. A government spokesman said that the Thai PM has met with several members of his cabinet to discuss long-term residency options for foreigners. The spokesman said that the PM, Prayut Chan-o-cha, is currently in talks with a number of ministers and relevant agencies in his government to see how to attract more foreign investment to the kingdom. He said that the Prime Minister met yesterday with the Deputy Prime Minister, the Interior Minister and the Finance Minister. The report says that the officials discussed various long-stay visa options aimed at highly skilled professionals and wealthy investors. Okay, even if COVID disappeared from the world this afternoon, it'll take many years before tourism will recover in Thailand, and a lot longer to reach the heady days of 2019, where 40 million people arrived. And I have serious doubts that the government will be able to attract many high-skilled professionals and wealthy investors to live in Thailand. At least not enough to make a big difference to the average Thai person who relies on your everyday tourists, not your rich foreign investors. So what can Thailand do to attract more people to this wonderful country to try to get the tourism industry started again? Well, a good place to start would be to take a leaf out of countries like Malaysia, Belize in Central America, Spain, Portugal in Europe, Costa Rica, Panama in Central America, and try to attract more expat retirees or expats in general. But just your normal expats, not your rich investor expats. Yeah, attract them too, but just don't limit it when you're making decisions about who to let into the country. Don't just let it be rich investors and highly skilled workers. There's a lot of money out there that the average person has and would love to spend in your country. Many of those countries that I've just mentioned have realised that by making it easier for expat retirees to retire to their countries, it's good for the citizens of their countries. I've put a list of the 10 most popular countries that attracts retirees, and you'll notice that Thailand is not amongst them. Now that's not because Thailand isn't an attractive place for retirees. It is. I love living here. Out of all those places, those 10 places, I've visited most of them, and I prefer Thailand myself. I love Thailand. The problem is why it's not rated higher is because of the hoops that you have to jump through to retire here, and the way that they don't help retirees here. Whereas some countries, they will give incentives even for you to come and retire in their country, give you discounts, make it a lot easier for you to come in. They don't put obstacles in the way. So that's why Thailand's not on the list. It's a beautiful country to live. It's got so much going for it. But I don't know, it's their public relations department. They don't see retirees being the sort of people that the country want to attract for some reason. They prefer to think of the high-end investors and rich people coming here. They don't think of retirees as being that important to their economy. What the Thai government needs to realise is expat retirees normally retire to another country because their pensions and retirement income stretches much further in the country that they choose to retire to. And they spend the majority of their income in their adopted country, eating, drinking, travelling, buying clothes and essential goods. They also have to live somewhere, so they buy or rent a house. Many buy motor vehicles. They also have to pay electricity, essential services, medical needs. So many of the local people and businesses benefit by the retirees being their customers. Unlike many holidaymakers and backpackers, retirees rarely cause any trouble, as the majority have come to live out the rest of their lives to enjoy the better weather and tropical lifestyle, not hit the clubs and bars every night. Well, present company accepted. The current Thai retirement visa process is antiquated and cumbersome and puts off many expats from retiring here. I know personally of many expats who have left Thailand and haven't returned to their home countries because the money doesn't stretch as far in their home countries, Western countries, but they've moved to Malaysia, they've moved to Cambodia, they've moved to the Philippines, and some have gone back to Europe and retired to Spain or Portugal, some of the people that I know. So if anyone from the Thai Ministry of Immigration is watching, here's a few ideas to attract more expat retirees to come and live and spend all of their retirement money in your country. First of all, offer them more than a 12-month visa. Malaysia offers a 10-year visa for accepted retirees. Why can't Thailand do the same? The problem with offering only a 12-month visa is you never feel as if you've been truly accepted by the country. Personally, even though I'd love to own my own home here in Thailand, but as the visa system stands now, I won't buy a property here. The reason for that is that even though it would probably never happen, the government could change its immigration laws on the whim of the immigration minister and decide not to grant me a renewal of my yearly retirement visa when I next go to do it. Then I'd have to try and sell my house or condo and leave the country if I was refused a visa. If I couldn't find a buyer for the house or condo, I'd have to return to my own country and leave the property behind in the hands of a realtor. I've owned properties in countries that I've lived in, including the UK, Australia, USA, without having to worry about what would happen, as long as I didn't break any laws where I could be deported. And I had no problem at any time in those countries renewing my visas. The second thing that irks me, and most of the retirees that I've spoken to who live in Thailand, is the 90-day report. Every 3 months, I have to report to immigration and tell them where I'm living, even if I've been living in the same house for many years without changing addresses. When I lived in Australia, I had a permanent residence visa, and never once in the 43 years that I lived there did I have to report to them where I lived or if I changed addresses. Look, I can see the point of reporting if I moved house, but to have to go to the immigration office every 12 weeks to tell them that I haven't moved seems a waste of everyone's time. There is a way you can do it online, but as with a lot of computer and online apps here in Thailand, they often don't work. The first and only time that I tried it, I thought that I'd completed it online. It was only when I went into the immigration department in November to renew my actual visa, I was told that my previous 90-day report had not been received, and I was fined because of it. You're also supposed to tell immigration if you leave the town that you've registered your addresses in, even if you're just going away for a night. You might think, well, I'll just go away for a night to Bangkok for a change, but you're supposed to go to immigration and report that. And it seems that they treat us more like criminals than retirees. Thirdly, let people bring their possessions from their home countries into Thailand without paying duty. When I retired to Thailand from Australia, I wanted to import my car into Thailand. When I looked into it, into the process, I was told that up to 200% duty would be applied to the car. So if I bought a car, say worth 15,000 Australian dollars into the country, they would charge me $30,000 duty, making a $15,000 car cost $45,000. One time, I think it was around about 1995, I was returning after living in England for a little while. I decided to import my car. It was a Jaguar XJS. And the duty payable in Australia when I shipped it over from the UK was only about $800 duty. And the cost of the shipping it wasn't too bad either. And fourthly, let retirees, expats buy land or houses. As it stands now, I can't buy land or a house, not in my name. There is a system where you can open a company, but I think, I'm not 100% sure because I've never really followed this through, but I think the company has to be 51% owned by Thai people, I think, but you'd have to do your own homework on that. If that's the case, then you can buy land using the company name. If you have a Thai wife or a Thai girlfriend and you want to buy property, you can put the land or the house into her name, but obviously if the marriage or the relationship breaks up or the marriage ends up in divorce, then you obviously you might have to forfeit the house unless you've married a really nice Thai lady who says, oh no, we'll sell the house and share the proceeds. I've heard some horror stories where where marriages have broken up and people have invested lots and lots of money in the wife's names so they could establish themselves in Thailand. And the marriage is broken up and the lady's taken everything. But not all. I've heard also some good stories. I'm not saying all Thai ladies are the same. There's also some great ladies who just said, yeah, we share this. I loved you then, and I'm quite happy to split the proceeds if we sell everything. You can also buy a condo as long as the block of condos, 51% of the people who own the condos are Thai. So 49% of the owners can be Farang, and you can actually buy that in your name as long as there's 51% owners are of Thai nationality. I lived in Australia for many years. I never became an Australian citizen. I was always a British citizen, but with a permanent Australian residency. I could buy land. I did buy land. I bought land. I bought houses. I bought condos. On all the years I was there, I bought many properties. I bought properties in the USA without any problem at all, and not lived there even. Even when I wasn't living there, I could fly in and buy a property. Malaysia and most of the other countries I mentioned before in Central America and Europe, you can buy land and you can buy a house. They don't put obstacles in the way. They realise that you're only going to buy the land and build a nice house on it to live. You're not a company coming in, buying up land in bulk and keeping it from the citizens of the country. You're just buying a block of land or a house to live in. And probably, when you sell it one day or you die and your family take it over, they're going to sell it. And they'll probably sell it to a Thai person. So the land will probably end up going back anyway one day. But I just think, it would be a lot nicer. I'd feel a lot more better if I could just come in and think, okay, I like that block of land there. I think it's overlooking the sea. Yeah, I'll buy that and I'll build a nice house and I'll live happily ever after, rather than renting because I don't trust that, one day I might have to leave the country because I can't get my visa. So that's 4 reasons I think would boost the economy and get more people wanting to come and live here. If they thought they could do it, come into the country easier, without so much paperwork and without so much ongoing paperwork every 3 months, every year. If you could just come in, like I say, when I went to Australia, that was in 1974, in those days you just flew in if you were British, because it was part of the Commonwealth. I think in September 1974 they stopped it, where you needed visas, but before September 1974 you could just fly in the country if you were British. That was it, you got permanent residency. So I lived there from 1974 onwards, and I never once reported to immigration for anything. Once I was in, that was it. As long as I did the right thing. I suppose if I was a murderer, then obviously I'd be deported after I'd served my time, and that's how it should be. But if I'm just living my life quietly and doing, bringing up my children, paying Australian taxes, living the Australian lifestyle, why not leave me alone just to enjoy that? Why should I have to report to immigration every 5 minutes to tell them what I'm doing and where I'm going? The only time I ever had to do that was every 5 years if I left the country. Every 5 years, the permanent resident visa lasts 5 years. If you stay in the country, you don't have to renew it. But if I want to go on holidays or go back to England to visit family or something, and I would have to make sure that my visa was still up and running. If it still had a year to run, then that was it. I'd just go out and then come back in, but I wouldn't have to think again about it until I was thinking of leaving the country again. So there you have it. That's my take on what I think. And the government today said, we want to attract rich entrepreneurs and the elite to come and live in Thailand. Well, I think the elite won't come and live in Thailand. It's a beautiful country, but the elite are going to want to live in the USA. They want to live in the Caribbean. They want to live in Monaco. Not Thailand. Well, not the majority of them anyway. Not enough to make a difference to Thailand. But if you can attract a lot of retirees or expats who have a little bit of money, not high-end, not top-end people, not your Microsoft owners or your Amazon owners, but your people who've got a little bit of money and want to spend it on buying a house here if you'd let them, or renting a house, but spending all their money here every week for 52 weeks of the year. So much better than having just tourists here for 2 weeks, spending big, but then for the other 50 weeks of the year, they're back in their own countries. Me, personally, I spend all my money here. All of my Australian pension is spent in Thailand, especially now because I can't leave the country because of COVID. So over the last close to 2 years now, all my money has been spent, and all the expats who I know around here, they do the same. Their money is spent here. So, if anyone's listening, which they're not, but this is what I think could be a bonus to Thailand now that COVID is hopefully going. It's going to be a while before your tourism returns in big numbers. Why not attract people who've been stuck at home for the last 2 years, sat in homes and probably looking at TV, travel programs, thinking, wishing they were there. Why not attract them to come to Thailand and say, come into Thailand, bring your money with you, and you can retire here. And if you do that and make it easier, but you still have to be picky who you let in. I understand that. You're not just opening your doors and letting everyone in. You don't know. But if you do the immigration department does its homework and checks everyone out, checks out their credentials, make sure they don't have criminal history and all sorts of things like that, then let them in. We're good people. We spend our money here. So that's my take on it. So before I go, next week my visa expires. Well, actually not till the 27th, but next week I need to go and renew it. I always do it a couple of weeks before in case there are any problems. That gives me a couple of weeks grace. So that's what I have to do next week, and I'll go through with you the system next week. I'll go through it with you. I'll tell you exactly what you have to do, where you have to go, all the documents you need, how much money you need, how much it costs to renew your visa. And I will say this, I'm not looking forward to it. I just went and did my 90-day report only 3 weeks ago, and that was horrendous. I always find Koh Samui is very difficult to do. It shouldn't make any difference in any country. The system should be the same, but unfortunately Thailand, every area is different. So if I go to Koh Samui, the criteria they want here could be different from the criteria that I needed in Hua Hin to get a 12-month visa. Hua Hin, it was easy. Before I went to Hua Hin, I lived in Samui for 2 years, and for 2 years I dreaded going to do my visa. But in Hua Hin, I was dreading the first time. I thought, but no, it was like easy. I was in and out in 10 minutes, and the following year, the same. It was just quite an easy system. So if you haven't already done so, please push the subscribe button and the thumbs up button. And if you know of any friends or relatives who might be thinking of spending a little bit of time here in Thailand or retiring, ask them to take a look at my YouTube channel. You can copy the link and send the link to them. Also, if you are thinking of spending any time here, take a look at my book, The Retire in Thailand Handbook, the first 6 months. It's crammed full of information and all the things you'll need to know if you want to make Thailand your home in retirement, or if you're just an expat wanting to live here. It'll give you all the information you need to know, including how to get a driving license for cars and motorbikes, how to rent a house, how to buy a house, how to open a bank account, many things that you have in your own country now and just come natural to you. When you go to a new country, you've got to start again. You've got to start your life again. You've got to open up all these bank accounts. You've got to go find medical facilities. You've got to find dentists. All these things that you have to do. Also, the book has cost of living charts for different areas of Thailand. Lots of advice on perhaps if you're thinking of coming here, how to send your things here from your home country. If you've got a pet you might want to bring with you, how to bring a pet from your country to Thailand. So many things. So thanks very much for watching. Look out for my next video and probably the one after that, which will be about how to renew your visa for a retirement visa here in Thailand. So until then, take care. Stay safe during this horrible COVID pandemic, and I'll see you in the next video.